After a woman gets taken in by ICE at the Denver airport, we're taking a closer look at what your rights are.
Thanks to a records mix-up at a historic cemetery, some families are learning someone else might already be buried in the plots they paid for. Now they have to make a choice.
The start of the new school year right around the corner. We're going to talk about how much families are expected to spend this year and some tips on how to save money. Good Thursday morning as we take a live look over the city of Denver. Today's temperature is expected to finally drop below 90 degrees. Thanks for joining us here at 6 o'clock. I'm Drew Carney.
And I'm Jennifer Meckles. What good news we can finally say. We've been waiting so long. Some parts of the state will see more rain today, and the flooding danger is still pretty high, especially in burn scar areas from all the various fires, including the Aspen Acres fire. Katie LaSalle joining us now this morning with more. First of all, good news.
Yeah.
We can finally celebrate.
Right.
We get a day below 90.
I mean, it's well over 10 days in a row with 90 plus temperatures.
Yes.
Finally, some relief.
12 straight days,
12 days in a row? Okay.
Here in Denver. But yes, mid to upper 80s for highs. Wet weather, as we were talking about, the rain, so nice to see yesterday in spots. It'll be scattered thunderstorms and showers. The flood risk is a lot lower across the state. We don't have any flood watches in place over the western parts of Colorado, but again, the Aspen Acres fire, that's where we do have a flood watch that will take effect with more storms that we'll see for the afternoon and evening. But this morning, it's mostly cloudy skies, dry conditions, high 60s currently, higher levels of humidity. And then for today, we'll be continuing to watch from the mountains to the metro area and eastern plains for scattered thunderstorms and showers as monsoon rain impacts our state. Cooler temperatures in the mid to upper 80s, but then it'll be brief, my friends. Mid to upper 90s return tomorrow and will be with us for much of the weekend. This morning, 40s, 50s in the mountains from Granby to Dillon, high 50s this morning, but storm chances arrive mainly after 1 o'clock. I'll break down Featurecast, how much rain we're expecting to be seeing, and then upper 80s for today, around 10 degrees hotter tomorrow. Brianna?
And 6:01 is your time for this Thursday morning. We do have our first crash of the morning. This is a live look of southbound I-25 right near Thornton Parkway. That right shoulder is partially blocked with a handful of crews there on scene. Now from the CDOT camera, we can't really tell how many vehicles were involved, but let's get to your drive times in that area because we're going to start to see that morning rush hour traffic and then we have this crash. So just after 104th Avenue is where I'm noticing that stop and go traffic, but you pretty much have the green light. Right now your drive southbound I-25 between 144th down to I-76, only 10 minutes.
Brianna, thank you. Right now, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office is asking for help trying to solve a dozen car break-ins. This happened during the early morning hours of July 5th when security cameras caught somebody going around checking those door handles, then breaking into a dozen of those cars. This happened at the Prairie Walk on Cherry Creek Apartments in Parker. The person made off with power tools, clothes, and other things they found in the vehicles. The Sheriff's Office says this person is associated with a red sedan, but they don't quite know the make and model. If you recognize them from this video, please call Metro Denver Crime Stoppers at the number you see there on your screen.
New this morning, another lawsuit has been filed against the city of Fort Collins over how police officers have been handling DUI enforcement. Now, the city just had to settle a different lawsuit involving a different officer. In this case, the suit accuses the city of having a pattern of wrongful DUI arrests and not addressing what it called an obvious need for better training and discipline. 9 News legal expert Whitney Traylor is going to join us live later this morning, coming up in our 7 o'clock hour over on KTVD. He's going to break down the lawsuits. Again, that's happening later this morning. If you do have to head out, though, keep in mind you can still tune in and watch. You can take us with you wherever you go. All you have to do is scan that QR code you see right there on your screen and watch for free.
A cannabis manufacturing facility in Denver is shutting down, and 50 people who work there are now going to lose their jobs. The cannabis company notified the state they plan to close that facility on Washington Street near the Denver Coliseum by September 11th. The cannabis company has 19 dispensaries in this state. That includes Medicine Man and Green Solution. We've been reporting for years about recreational cannabis sales slumping after they hit a peak in 2021.
Help! Help us! Hey, you guys, come help us! ICE is here, help us!
That was the moment federal agents removed a traveler from Southwest Airlines jetway at the Denver International Airport back on Monday night. Now, an ICE spokesperson says that Chantel Alejandra Morales Rojas was in the country on an expired visa. Morales' attorney, however, said that she had federal authorization to remain in the country. She remains in ICE custody in Aurora pending removal proceedings.
Now, that video showing ICE agents arresting the woman exists because her friend keeps recording, even after an agent warns her she could face charges for doing so.
A local professor says recording the arrest was not obstruction. 9 News reporter Ria Jha joining us now to talk more about this. More specifically, where is the legal line, Rhea?
Yeah, the professor said a bystander can record, they can ask questions, they can call attention to what is happening, but what they can't do is physically interfere. So that video that we just saw shows Morales Rojas's friend, Alicia Dansker, continuing to record while repeatedly telling agents she is standing out of their way. Dansker then follows the agents off the jetway, records the arrest, and calls for help inside the concourse. An agent warns that she's interfering and cites a federal law he says he could use to charge her. We spoke to that MSU Denver professor, Jasmine Chavez, who reviewed the video and says recording an arrest by itself is not obstruction.
Recording an individual being detained is not obstruction. It is a constitutional protection for you to be able to exercise your right as an observer, but also as a person.
Southwest did not allow Morales Rojas's friend on board because she was swearing at the ICE agent, and the airline hasn't told us said they did not share any passenger information with DHS. TSA, however, has not told us what passenger information they have shared. Reporting live in Denver, Rhea Jha, 9 News.
All right, thanks, Rhea. Thanks to a record-keeping issue at the Lafayette Cemetery, families there are finding out that they may already have people buried in plots that they paid for. The city says historical burial records were incomplete, leaving some families with plots that may already contain human remains. Owners can now choose to sell their plot back to the city, relocate to another cemetery, choose cremation, or pursue a casket burial with a backup plan in case the plot is already occupied. Some families want the city to do more to find out if remains are in previously sold plots.
I just think they need to redo some of the people's sites that want to be buried here to make sure that there's not space for them.
The guiding principle and guiding philosophy is we want to do right by these people, but also be transparent about the level of challenge here.
Families have until October 31st to contact the city about their options and until January 31st to make their final decisions.
Democratic governor nominee Phil Weiser has announced DougCo Commissioner Leslie Dahlkemper as his running mate. Dahlkemper has served 2 terms in office. Before that, she was on the DougCo School Board. In their only joint sit-down interview following yesterday's announcement, Weiser told our Kyle Clark that Dahlkemper is ready to serve as governor if for some reason he no longer can.
If something, God forbid, were to happen to you, you're confident that she could be governor?
1,000%. Let me tell you why, Kyle, because I got to watch her in action as we worked on the opioid crisis. One of the issues that came up is what's the regional map going to look like? Version 1 was DougCo alone. I went to the counties right next door, Gilpin, Clear Creek, and I said, do you guys want to be alone? They said, not really, but we don't know if we can trust DougCo as a partner, because often rural counties think these larger counties ignore them, take them for granted. And I said to commissioners in rural counties, can you talk to Leslie? They did. Leslie earned their trust. She forged this larger region, including all 3 counties. And she showed them that she knows how to govern in a way that includes all of us. That mindset, that collaborative mindset, that's what we need in Colorado. We've got that with Leslie.
Dahlkemper did sidestep some questions about Republican candidate Victor Marx, almost as if he didn't exist. Marx has yet to name a running mate.
At 6:07, slightly cooler for today. 86 degrees the expected high. Scattered thunderstorms, showers, so some wet weather on the way. We've been talking about this monsoon rain, and that's what we're anticipating with scattered storms developing first into our Colorado high country, moving into our northern mountains, Fort Collins, Greeley. It won't be raining all at once, but some brief heavy downpours possible through this evening before some hotter and drier weather your 7-day after the break.
And from the tech center to downtown, no issues to report. Up and down I-25, only 12 minutes if you're heading south and north. Only an 11-minute drive, still crash free.